It starts the way most bad decisions do, with laughter. We were 13, that strange age where you're old enough to feel fearless, but too young to understand consequences. The kind of age where danger feels like a story that only happens to other people. And that night, we were convinced nothing could touch us. It was late autumn. The air carried that sharp, dry chill that crept under your hoodie and settled into your bones. Streetlights flickered lazily over empty sidewalks, casting long shadows that stretched across quiet suburban streets. Our neighborhood wasn't fully developed yet. Behind rows of houses were patches of dense woods, dark, tangled, and untouched, the kind of woods that looked normal during the day, but at night felt like something else entirely. Something watching, something waiting. There were 4 of us, me and 3 of my closest friends. We had our usual roles. 2 of us would run up to the houses, ring the doorbell, and sprint. The other 2 would hide. Simple, stupid, and at the time, endlessly entertaining. We had already hit a few houses that night. Nothing unusual. A man yelling from his porch. Another threatening to call the police. One guy who just stood there confused, scratching his head. We laughed. We always laughed. Because that's what made it fun. Getting away. But then, we decided to go further. Further than we usually did. Across the main road. Into a quieter block. A part of the neighborhood that felt off. The houses there were older. Worn down. Lawns untrimmed. Paint peeling. Windows dark. Even the streetlights seemed dimmer. And across from one of those houses, there was a thick patch of woods. Deeper than the others. Darker. Perfect for hiding. We should have turned back. Something about that place felt wrong. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in a quiet, suffocating way. Like the air itself was telling us to leave. But we didn't listen. Because we were 13. And we thought we were invincible. One of my friends volunteered to go first. He jogged across the street, his footsteps crunching softly on gravel. The rest of us slipped into the woods. Branches scratched against our jackets as we crouched low, trying to stay hidden. From where we were, we had a clear view of the house. It looked abandoned at first glance. A small single-story home. The porch sagged slightly. A car sat in the driveway, covered in a dusty tarp. The windows were dark. Too dark. My friend reached the door, hesitated for just a second, then pressed the doorbell. The sound echoed faintly through the quiet street. And then, the door opened instantly. Too fast. A man stepped out. Huge. Broad shoulders. Tall. Still. Even from across the street. We could feel it. The shift in energy. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't annoyance. This was something else. The man didn't say anything at first. He just stood there, scanning, slowly, carefully. Then he stepped forward, off the porch, into the yard. His head turned left, then right, then toward the woods, toward us. We dropped lower instantly, barely breathing. The ground beneath us was cold and damp, leaves crunching softly under our weight. He walked further out, not rushing, not panicking, just searching. And then, he spoke. His voice was low, controlled, but filled with something that made my chest tight. I know you're out there. We froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt like hours. And then he turned, walked back inside. The door closed. We exhaled, almost at the same time. A nervous laugh broke out between us. Quiet, shaky, but still laughter, because we thought it was over. It was. A few minutes passed. Silence returned. The street looked empty again. Normal. Too normal. Then one of my friends whispered. Again. I remember feeling something shift in my stomach. A small, quiet voice telling me, "No," but I didn't say it, because no one wanted to be the scared one. So we let him go again. He moved faster this time, more confident, more reckless. He reached the door, pressed the bell, and ran. This time, the door didn't just open. It slammed open. The man stepped out again. But now, he was holding something. At first, it didn't register. Not fully. But then the light caught it. Metal. Long. Dark. A rifle. Everything inside me dropped. The man stepped into the yard again. But this time, he wasn't just searching. He was hunting. He checked behind the car, behind the bushes, near the porch. Then, he stopped, right in the middle of the yard. And slowly, his head turned, toward the woods, toward us. It felt like he could see straight through the darkness, straight through the trees, straight to where we were hiding. No one breathed. No one moved. 10 seconds passed, maybe more. Then, he turned, walked back inside. But this time, he didn't stay gone. A moment later, he appeared at the front window, standing completely still, watching, not the street, not the road, the woods, us. And that's when something inside me finally broke. This wasn't a game anymore. This wasn't harmless. Something was very, very wrong. But before we could even react, we saw movement. Our friend, he was going back, again, toward the house. And we couldn't stop him, couldn't warn him. We were too afraid to even whisper. He reached the door, pressed the bell, and ran. But this time, nothing happened. No door opening, no shouting, just silence. Heavy, unnatural silence. And then, from somewhere behind us, we heard it. Footsteps, vast, closing in, and a voice shouting from across the street. Run! We turned, and what we saw is something I've never been able to forget. The man, charging through the woods, rifle raised, coming straight for us. And in that moment, we weren't kids anymore. We were prey. And he was something much worse than just angry. We ran. Branches whipped against our faces. Our shoes slipped on leaves and dirt. Our lungs burned as we pushed harder than we ever had before. Behind us, we could hear him, getting closer, closer, and just when I thought he might actually catch us, the sound stopped. Suddenly, too suddenly, we didn't stop running. Not for a long time. But even now, years later, there's one thing that still haunts me. It's not the man, not the gun, not even the chase. It's what my friend said. After we finally got away, he looked back toward the woods, still shaking, and whispered, He wasn't running after us at first. We stared at him, confused, terrified, and he said, "He was already in the woods before I told you to run." Which means, when we thought we were hiding, we never were. Mini cliffhanger ending. And that wasn't the only time something followed us home. Because what happened next didn't stay in those woods. There's a strange thing about fear. At first it's loud. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. Every instinct tells you to run. But later, when it's over, fear becomes quiet. It hides in your thoughts, in your memory, in the questions you can't answer. That night, we didn't talk much after we got away. We just stood there at the edge of our block, bent over, hands on our knees trying to catch our breath. No one laughed this time. No one made jokes. Because deep down, we all felt it. Something about that wasn't normal. Did he follow us? One of us finally asked. We all turned back instinctively. The street behind us was empty. Silent. Still. But it didn't feel empty. It felt like something had just stepped out of sight. We brushed it off the only way kids do. By pretending it wasn't real. "Let's just go home," someone said. And that was it. No arguments. No bravado. We split up at the corner, each of us heading to our own house, under the same dim streetlights that suddenly didn't feel so safe anymore. I remember walking the last stretch alone. My house wasn't far, just a few minutes down the road. But that night, it felt longer. Every shadow looked deeper. Every parked car felt like it was hiding something. And that feeling, that someone was behind me, it didn't go away. I told myself not to turn around, because turning around would make it real. But about halfway down the street, I couldn't help it. I turned. Nothing. Just the empty road. Faint light. Stillness. I let out a shaky breath, shook my head, told myself I was being stupid, and kept walking. But as I reached my front door, there was something I couldn't ignore. The silence. Not the normal kind. The heavy kind. The kind that presses against your ears. I unlocked the door quickly, stepped inside, locked it behind me, and only then did I feel a little bit of relief. But not much, because something had followed me home. Not physically, but mentally, and that feeling stayed with me. Long after that night ended. The next day, morning came like it always does. Bright, normal, safe, or at least, it looked that way. At school, we all found each other again. Same group, same routine, but something had changed. We didn't talk about it right away. It was like we were all waiting for someone else to bring it up first. Finally, one of us did. "That guy." He paused. "Did you see his face?" We all went quiet, because none of us had gotten a good look. And somehow, that made it worse. "I think he saw us way before we thought," another said. That hit harder than anything else, because it meant we were never in control, not even for a second. Then came the part that stuck with me, the part I still think about. "He wasn't surprised," my friend said. "He was waiting." Waiting. For what? For kids to prank his house? Or for something else? We never got an answer. But from that day on, we made an unspoken agreement. We never went back to that block. Ever. But fear has a way of coming back. A few days passed. Then a week. Life slowly returned to normal. The laughter came back. The jokes. The dumb decisions. We convinced ourselves it was just some crazy guy. Nothing more. Until something strange started happening. It started small. So small, you could almost ignore it. One night, I heard something outside my window. A faint crunch, like someone stepping on dry leaves. I sat up in bed, listening. Nothing. I told myself it was just the wind. Went back to sleep. The next night, it happened again. This time, closer and slower. Crunchy. Pause. Crunchy. Like footsteps. I got up, walked to the window, pulled the curtain back slightly, and looked outside. Nothing. Just darkness. But something felt off. The bushes near the sidewalk. They were moving. Not from wind. From something brushing past them. I stared for a few seconds. Heart pounding. And then, it stopped. Completely still. I closed the curtain immediately. Stepped back. That same feeling from the woods came rushing back. I didn't tell anyone. Not at first. Because it sounded crazy. Because I didn't want it to be real. But then, a few days later, at school, one of my friends said something. Something that made my blood run cold. Have you guys been hearing stuff at night? We all looked at him. What do you mean? I asked. He hesitated, like he wasn't sure if he should say it. Like outside, he said. Near my house. Silence. Then another one of us spoke. Yeah. My stomach dropped. Because now it wasn't just me. It was all of us. Different houses. Different streets. Same thing. Footsteps. Late at night. Always just out of sight. Always gone when we looked. We tried to laugh it off. Tried to come up with explanations. Stray animals. Neighbors. Coincidence. But none of it felt right. Because deep down, we all knew. This started. After that night. The breaking point. It happened about 2 weeks later. I woke up suddenly. No noise. No reason. Just that feeling. That something wasn't right. My room was dark. The clock beside my bed read 2:37 a.m. And then, I heard it. Not outside. Inside. A creak. From downstairs. Slow. Heavy. Like someone stepping on old wood. My entire body went cold. I sat up. Listening. Another step. Closer this time. My door was slightly open. Just enough to see into the hallway. Dark. Empty. But the sound. It was real. Another step. And then, silence. The kind of silence that feels like it's waiting. Waiting for you to move. To react. To make a mistake. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. And then, very slowly, the door to my room moved. Just a little. A soft creak as it opened further. And in that gap, between darkness and shadow, I saw it. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. A shape. Tall. Still. Watching. Mini cliffhanger ending. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. It wasn't just following us anymore. It had chosen one of us. And that night, it chose me. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My body locked in place, like something deep inside me understood. Making noise would be a mistake. The figure in my doorway didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe. It just stood there, watching. Time stretched. Seconds twisted into something longer, something unbearable. I tried to make sense of what I was seeing, tried to convince myself it was my imagination, a trick of the dark, a shadow. But shadows don't shift. And this one did. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it leaned forward. That's when something inside me snapped. I grabbed the nearest thing I could reach, a lamp from my bedside, and hurled it toward the door. The crash shattered the silence. Light exploded across the room, and for a split second, the doorway was empty. Nothing there. No figure. No movement. Just the hallway, dark and still. I didn't wait. I ran. Out of my room. Down the hallway. Down the stairs 2 at a time. Dad. My voice cracked as I shouted. Dad, someone's in the house. Lights flicked on. Doors opened. Footsteps rushed. Within seconds, my parents were up. My dad grabbed something heavy from the closet. Not asking questions, just reacting. We searched the house. Every room. Every corner. Nothing. Doors locked. Windows shut. No signs of forced entry. It didn't make sense. It couldn't make sense. Bad dream, my mom said gently. You're just shaken. But I knew. I knew what I saw. And worse, I knew what I felt. That same presence from the woods. That same suffocating awareness. It had been standing in my doorway. # the silence that followed. After that night, everything changed. Not just for me, for all of us. Because when I told my friends what happened, they didn't laugh. They didn't doubt me. They just looked at each other. And then one of them said, "It's inside now, isn't it?" No one answered. Because we didn't have to. # weeks passed. We tried to move on. Tried to act normal. But something followed us. Not physically. Not visibly. But constantly. It was in the silence. The kind that stretches too long. It was in reflections, where you swear you saw something move. But when you look again, there's nothing there. It was in the feeling that you're not alone, even when you are. And then, one of us broke. # his name was Daniel. Daniel was the quietest out of all of us. The kind of guy who didn't scare easily. Didn't overreact. Which is why, when he showed up at school that morning, we knew something was wrong. He looked drained. Dark circles under his eyes. Pale skin. Shaking hands. "What happened to you?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Just sat down. Stared at the table. Then finally, he spoke. "It talks." The words barely came out. We all leaned in. "What talks?" someone asked. Daniel swallowed hard. "That thing." A cold silence fell over us. "What do you mean?" I said. He looked up at me, eyes wide. "It was in my room last night." My chest tightened. "Same as you," he continued. "In the doorway. No one moved. But this time..." He paused, his voice shaking. It said something. My heart started pounding. "What did it say?" Daniel hesitated. like saying it out loud would make it worse. More real. Then, in a whisper, it said, "You shouldn't have come back." The air in the room changed, because we all knew what it meant. That house, that night, we weren't supposed to go there. And whatever we disturbed, it wasn't done with us. The decision. We didn't plan it. Not really. But by the end of that day, we all knew what we were going to do. We were going back. Not because we were brave. Not because we wanted to. But because we needed answers. Because running hadn't worked. Ignoring it hadn't worked. And if this thing, whatever it was, could follow us home, then nowhere was safe anyway. So we chose the only option left. We were going to face it. That night, we met at the edge of the neighborhood. Same place as before. But this time, there was no laughter, no jokes, no excitement, just silence. The kind that sits heavy in your chest. The walk felt longer than before. Each step harder. The closer we got, the quieter everything became. No wind, no distant cars, no sounds of life, just stillness. And then, we saw it. The house, exactly the same. Small, dark, silent, waiting. The woods beside it seemed thicker now. Deeper, like they had grown. Or maybe, we were just seeing them differently. "Let's just check it," someone whispered. "Then we leave." We all nodded. Slowly, we crossed the street. Each step felt wrong, like we were walking into something we didn't understand. The front yard was dead quiet. No lights inside. No movement. The car was still there. Covered. Untouched. It didn't feel like someone lived there. It felt like something stayed there. We reached the porch. And for a moment, no one moved. Then, I stepped forward, raised my hand, and knocked. The sound echoed. Once, twice, 3 times. Nothing. No response. No movement. We waited. And just as we were about to leave, we heard it. From inside. A slow, heavy, dragging sound. Coming closer. Mini cliffhanger ending. And then, right behind the door, we heard a voice. Not angry. Not loud. But calm. Too calm. And it said, "You came back." No one moved. The voice on the other side of the door. It didn't sound surprised. It didn't sound angry. It sounded certain. Like it had been expecting us. "You came back." The words hung in the air. Heavy. Unnatural. We stared at each other. No one spoke. Because what do you say to something like that? A part of me wanted to run. Actually, all of me wanted to run. But my feet didn't move. Because something stronger held me there. Not courage. Not curiosity. Something else. Something that felt like, if we turned our backs now, it wouldn't let us leave again. The door creaked. Slowly. Painfully slowly. It opened. Just a few inches at first. Darkness spilling out from inside like thick smoke. And then, it stopped. No one stood in the doorway. No face. No figure. Just darkness. And that same voice. From somewhere inside. "Come in." Every instinct screamed no. But something else. something quiet and dangerous, whispered yes, and before I could stop myself, I stepped forward, across the threshold. The moment I entered, the air changed. It felt heavier, thicker, harder to breathe. The smell hit next. Damp wood, dust, and something else. Something rotten. Behind me, I heard the others step in too. One by one, reluctantly. And then, the door slammed shut. We all jumped. Someone tried the handle immediately. Locked. Of course it was. Okay, not funny, one of us muttered. But his voice didn't carry confidence. It cracked. The house was darker than it should have been, even with faint light leaking through the windows. It didn't reach far. The walls seemed to absorb it. We moved slowly, carefully. Every step echoed louder than it should. The floor creaked under our weight. And then, we heard it. Footsteps. Not ours. Above us. Slow. Heavy. Back and forth. Just like before. But there was something different this time. It wasn't hiding anymore. It wanted us to hear it. Upstairs, someone whispered. I shook my head. No. But even as I said it, I knew that's where we were going. Because the sound, it was pulling us, like a thread tightening. Step by step, we reached the staircase. It looked worse up close. Older, more worn, like it had been used too many times. For something it shouldn't have been. The footsteps above stopped, right as we reached the first step. Silence fell again. That same heavy silence. Then, a single creak from the top of the stairs, like someone had just shifted their weight. Waiting for us. I swallowed hard and took the first step. The wood groaned under my foot. Each step felt louder, sharper, like it was announcing our presence. We reached the top. The hallway stretched out ahead. Long, narrow, doors on either side. All closed, except one. At the very end, slightly open, and from inside, a faint light. And that smell again, stronger now. Rotten. We didn't speak. Didn't need to. We walked toward it, slowly, every instinct screaming to stop. But we didn't, because something was pulling us forward. Closer, closer, until we stood right outside the door. And then, it opened, on its own, slowly, revealing what was inside. And what we saw, it didn't make sense. It couldn't. The room was filled with things, old furniture, broken pieces, boxes. But that wasn't what mattered. What mattered was the center of the room, where two chairs sat, facing us. And on those chairs, something was sitting. At first, I thought they were mannequins. But then, one of them moved, just slightly. A twitch. And that's when it hit me. They weren't mannequins. They were people. Or at least, they used to be. Their skin looked wrong. Too pale. Too tight in some places. Too loose in others. And their eyes were open, staring right at us. I felt my stomach twist. Someone behind me gagged. And then, one of them smiled. Not naturally. Not human. Too slow. Too wide. And the voice, that same voice, came from it. You shouldn't have come back. Everything inside me snapped. Run! We turned, but the hallway behind us was gone. Gone. Where there should have been a hallway, there was only a wall. Solid. Impossible. Panic exploded. We spun around, looking for another way out. Windows. Boarded. Door. Gone. The room felt smaller, closing in. And then, we heard footsteps again. But this time, they weren't above us. They were behind us. Inside the room. Mini cliffhanger ending. And as we slowly turned around, we realized something impossible. There weren't just two of them anymore. There were more. Standing, watching us, smiling. For a moment, no one moved. Not because we didn't want to, but because our bodies refused to listen. The room had changed. What was once just two figures sitting in chairs was now something far worse. There were more of them, standing in the corners, pressed against the walls, half hidden in shadows, all facing us, all smiling, and none of them made a sound. That silence, it was the worst part, because silence means control. And whatever this was, it was completely in control. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears, feel it in my throat. "Don't move," someone whispered behind me. But it was too late for that, because one of them, the one closest to us, took a step forward. The movement was unnatural, jerky, delayed, like something learning how to walk again. And then, another one moved, and another, until all of them were slowly, gradually, closing in. We backed up instinctively, but there was nowhere to go. The wall behind us was cold, solid, real, unlike the hallway that had disappeared. "This isn't real," someone shouted, but their voice cracked halfway through. Because deep down, we all knew it was real enough, and that was all that mattered. The closest figure tilted its head, studying us, like we were something new, something interesting. And then, it spoke, not with its mouth, but inside our heads. "You came back." The words echoed, not in the room, but inside us. "You saw." A pause. And now, the smile widened. "You stay." Something inside me broke free. Not courage, not bravery, desperation, pure, uncontrollable desperation. I pushed forward, straight toward them, not because I thought I could fight them, but because standing still meant losing. Completely. I grabbed the nearest chair and swung it as hard as I could. It connected, and for a split second, everything stopped. The figures froze. The room flickered, like a broken image. And in that flicker, I saw something else. Not a room, not a house, but something deeper, something buried beneath it all. A dark space, endless, and within it, shapes, hundreds of them, watching, waiting. The illusion snapped back instantly. But that was enough, because now I understood. This wasn't just a house. It was something else, something that fed on attention, on curiosity, on being seen. And we had given it exactly what it wanted. "Close your eyes," I shouted. "I mean it, don't look at them." At first, no one reacted. Then one by one, They did, because when you have nothing left to lose, you follow anything that sounds like hope. I shut my eyes tightly, and suddenly, the room changed. The air shifted. The sound returned. Footsteps. Distant. Fading. The pressure lifted. Slowly, carefully, I opened my eyes. We were standing outside, in the front yard, the house behind us, silent, still, like nothing had happened. We didn't question it, didn't hesitate. We ran, faster than we ever had before. And this time, nothing followed. The aftermath. We never spoke about that night again. Not properly, not fully, because how do you explain something like that? How do you put it into words without making it real again? Over time, we drifted apart. Different schools, different lives, different ways of coping. But every now and then, I think about it, about that house, about what we saw, and what we almost became, because I still remember that moment, that flicker, that glimpse of something deeper, and the feeling that came with it, that we weren't just in a house, we were inside something that didn't belong here. Years later, I went back once. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe. Closure. Or maybe something else. The neighborhood had changed. More houses. More lights. More life. But that spot, where the house used to be, was empty. Completely gone. No foundation. No debris. Nothing. Like it had never existed. I stood there for a long time, trying to make sense of it, trying to convince myself it was over. But as I turned to leave, I felt it again. That same feeling from years ago, that something was watching, waiting. I didn't turn around, because now I knew better. Final line, ending impact. Some places aren't haunted. They're hungry. And once they notice you, they never truly forget.